Welcome. Most of what I cover on this channel, I've been sitting with for months before I say anything publicly about it. And that's especially true for swap platforms, because that's an area where a quick impression is pretty much worthless. You need to run real transactions, track the results, see how the service behaves when you actually depend on it. So that's what I've been doing. And today, I want to share what came out of that process, specifically with one platform that I've been using as part of my regular workflow for the past few months. I'll walk through the mechanics in plain terms, and then get into how to actually tell a good service from a fake one in this space. So before I start clicking around, let me just quickly run through what stood out about this platform after extended use. The security model was the first thing I looked at seriously, and it's the main reason I kept coming back. I'll explain why in a moment.
The token selection is extensive. I've had no issues finding pairs I actually needed. There's also a feature that lets you withdraw straight to a bank card, which I was skeptical about until I tried it. Works without a hitch, and just operationally, I've done somewhere around 50 transactions on this platform over the past few months. The longest I can recall was about 7 minutes. Usually it's done well before that. All right, let me just show this. So I'm going to do a swap from Litecoin to USDT. Not the most typical pair, but that's kind of the point. I want to show that this works beyond just the obvious BTC and ETH pairs. So right here in this window, I'm picking the exchange pair, LTC as the token I'm sending, that's in, and USDT as what I want to receive. Good, confirmed. And underneath that, it shows me the full picture, current exchange rate, the fee, and the estimated time for the whole thing to go through. Let me read through that. Yeah, everything there is what I'd expect. Okay, moving on.
Next thing, I need to add the destination address where tokens is going to be delivered. Also a refund address option below that, optional, but I fill it in as a default, and an email field for transaction updates. Give me a moment. Okay, all of that's entered. Let's go to the next step. So this is the final review. Exchange details, everything laid out before I confirm. One more pass through it. Yeah, all correct. Accepting the privacy policy and pressing create order. Good, my order is active. Platform is waiting on me to push LTC through. Allow me a moment. Okay, done. Everything's submitted from my side and I'm hitting confirm. Okay, the swap is running automatically now and tokens should be in my wallet within a few minutes. And while we're waiting, I want to take this time to explain something that I think a lot of people gloss over, which is what's actually happening here on a technical level and why it matters. So the phrase non-custodial gets thrown around a lot, but here's what it actually means in practice. When I just sent LTC, it didn't go into a wallet owned by this platform. It went directly into a transaction that runs on the blockchain, and the output of that transaction is USDT landing at my address. The platform is essentially the router. It figures out the path, executes the swap on chain, and that's the full extent of its involvement. At no point did my funds sit somewhere in between under someone else's control. Now think about how this differs from using Coinbase or Binance. On those platforms, step one is always a deposit, meaning your assets move from your wallet into the exchange's wallet. From that point, the exchange holds your funds, and that introduces a whole layer of risk that has nothing to do with you. Their security infrastructure, their internal policies, what happens if they face regulatory pressure. Non-custodial removes all of that. Your assets stay in your control throughout the entire process. The blockchain settles the transaction. The platform just builds the bridge to get you there.
And look, this category of service also has a pretty serious scam problem. And I say that not to be alarmist, but because after spending years going through crypto platforms in a methodical way, I've seen enough of them to know that fake services are common. They turn up in Google searches, and some of them are put together well enough that they don't immediately raise any flags. The reason this keeps happening is that the crypto space changes so fast. New types of services, new concepts, new terminology appearing all the time. And in that environment, a fake platform can pass itself off as the next new thing before anyone's had time to figure out what the real version even looks like. It's a pattern that plays out across the internet, but in crypto, the consequences tend to be immediate and hard to reverse. So here's what I check every time, no exceptions. What the platform says about its own security. Actual substantive information about how the system works, where the risks are, whether anyone independent has reviewed the code or the process.
So let me land this somewhere concrete. A few months of use, around 50 real transactions, a variety of token pairs, including some less common ones. And across all of that, 0 failures, 0 delays beyond what the platform told me to expect, 0 situations where I had to chase anything down. That kind of track record isn't something you can put together with a short demo. It accumulates through actual sustained use over time. That's what this is based on. And that's why I'm talking about it. Thanks for your time.